Realizing that the author had unearthed secrets that were of great importance in the elucidation of that eternal problem, he sought the other lost tablets, but without success. He carried letters of introduction to high priests of temples throughout India, but in every instance the author was received with coldness and suspicion. I have not seen any such tablets, he would declare, and doubtless they were telling the truth. Like his friend, they had probably only looked at the containers. Once in Burma, the author visited an ancient Buddhist temple in a search for the missing records. From where do you come? Asked the high priest, looking at him with veiled suspicion. From India, he replied. Then go back to India and ask the thieves who stole them from us to show them to you. And spitting on the ground at his feet, he turned and walked away. These rebuffs disheartened the author somewhat, but he had already obtained so much valuable information from the tablets that he determined to study the writings of all old civilizations and compare them with the legend of Mu. This he did, and found that the civilizations of the early Greeks, the Chaldeans, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Egyptians, and the Hindus had been definitely preceded by the civilization of Mu. Continuing his researches, he discovered that this lost continent had extended from somewhat north of Hawaii to the south as far as the Fijis and Easter Island, and was undoubtedly the original habitat of man. He also learned that in this beautiful country there had lived a people that colonized the earth, and that this land of smiling plenty had been liberated by terrific earthquakes and submersion 12,000 years ago, and had vanished in a vortex of fire and water. This would be right up Jordan Maxwell's alley, saying, the tohu and vohu and all this sort of stuff, which we verified possibly incorrect. Even though the original ancient Tab Asterisk Brita does not have the earth was dark and void and all that sort of stuff as the American English Bible translations have in them. Okay, so this place was liberated by terrifying earthquakes and submersion 12,000 years ago, and it had vanished in a vortex of fire and water. Also, the author learned in the original story of the creation of the world, it was on the continent of Mu that man first came into being. And the author traced the same story from Mu to India, where colonizers from the vanished continent had settled, from India into Egypt, from Egypt to the temple of Sinai, where Moses copied it, and from Moses to the faulty translations of Ezra 800 years later. Okay, so he's trying to say that the Indians went from Mu to India and then into Egypt. From Egypt to the temple of Sinai, where Moses copied it, and from Moses to the faulty translations of Ezra 800 years later. The plausibility of this will be apparent even to those who have not studied the subject carefully, when they see the close resemblance between the story of the creation as we know it and the tradition that originated in Mu. Before commencing to relate the writings on the tablets, the author will give a page of the vignettes found on them with their decipherings and translations. Nakal tablets. Vignette 1a, fine straight horizontal line symbol for space. Vignette 1b symbolizes the seven-headed serpent moving in space. The surrounding circle is the universe. Vignette 2, wavy horizontal lines, symbol for earthly waters. Vignette 3, the circle is a picture of the sun. The sun was the collective symbol of all the attributes of the deity, or the divine, or a god, or gods. Vignette 4, fine vertical lines from the sun symbolizing the forces, his forces which are affinitive to the earth's light force. And these might be similar. Which being set in movement gives light upon the earth. Then goes Vignette 5. Goes through all of these. Gives the explanation of all of those. That there looks like a kangaroo by the looks of it. Number 11. Or maybe it's a dog or something on its hind legs. It looks like not a giraffe, but some spotted sort of animal. And so forth. Not really sure. So it goes through all that. Vignette 7, this is the geometrical symbol that was assigned by the ancients to Mu. It is also the hieratic letter M and reads Mu, Ma, Mother, Land, Field, Country and Moth. Vignette 8, the Tau. This is that Tau of Tammuz. Right? Symbolic of Muz. Symbolic of Tau. We realise that. Symbol of resurrection in Mu is a picture of the constellation, the Southern Cross. The Tau also symbolises bringing forth a Mu, etc. The lotus flowers, probably Indian. Cat, the leaping deer. Okay, that's what it was. It wasn't a dog on its hind legs. It was a deer, a leaping deer. And then the Nakal tablets is the symbol of first man. This animal was selected to symbolise the first man because of its leaping power. Man came on earth fully and perfectly developed. He leaped upon the earth in his first and original form without going through nature's development of life. In other words, he was a special creation. And Vignette 12, 13. This vignette appears on a tablet describing the raising of the mountains and the formation of gas belts. Therefore, we see where the Egyptians obtained the symbol of fire, also the scarab. Then the Nakals from India carried them to Egypt. Okay, because the Nakals went from Mu to India and then to Egypt. The Egyptian fire symbol is only a modification of the Naga. The Egyptians put a handle on the Naga and turned it into a sword. It is not hard to find the reason for the Egyptian change or modification. In their hieroglyphics, they wanted to depict two forms of fire, the fires of the underneath and actual flames. This they did to record the destruction of the Motherland, which they say sank into a fiery abyss. It's probably talking about the island of Mu. And was enveloped in flames as she went down. Yeah, so she was totally in flames. The symbol is shown in the chapter on the Egyptian sacred book. Within this book, this chapter, the Book of the Dead. Vignette 14. The author considers this one of the most interesting of all those found on the Nakal tablets. It depicts man's advent on earth in the land of Mu, and he first dissects it by showing separately each symbol. A is the lotus, symbolic flower of Mu, and so forth. And he continues. F is Ket, the first man, and so forth. And he has certain key, without it he couldn't decipher anything. And he's saying here, taking them in the foregoing order, the tablets start by saying, originally the universe was only a soul of spirit. Everything was without life, calm, silent, soundless. Void and dark was the immensity of space. So there was no time as such, it was just endless space. Only the Supreme Spirit, the great self-existing power, the Creator, the seven-headed serpent, moved within the abyss of darkness. Okay, the desire came to him to create worlds, and he created worlds, and the desire came to him to create the earth with living things upon it, and he created the earth and all therein. And this is the manner of the creation of the earth with all the living things upon it. So he's not saying that the Son of God created the heavens and the earth. Okay, he's saying something completely different. Maybe symbolic, maybe virtual. Okay, maybe it's not metaphorical or allegorical. It's literal. The seven superlative intellects of the seven-headed serpent gave 7 commands, and the author would use the Nakal esoteric meaning as they are the most intelligible, he claims, to the reader. The demotic are all symbolical and not easily understood. Be reminded that the Egyptians, they changed their writing. They were originally, in the Bible, they're supposed to be sons of Noah's sons, descendants. They became the Egyptians from Mizraim, and they had hieroglyphics. In one of our books, Timetables of History, it says that the Egyptians changed their writing style to the hieroglyphics to demotic. So they probably originally had a Semitic style of writing, and then they had these hieroglyphics, and they changed it to demotic script. The demotic are all symbolical and not easily understood. The first intellectual command was, let the gases which are without form and scattered through space be brought together, and out of them let the earth be formed. The gases then assembled themselves into the form of a whirling mass. The second command was, let the gases solidify to form the earth. Then the gases solidified, volumes were left on the outside, out of which water and the atmosphere were to be formed, and volumes were enveloped within the new world. Darkness prevailed, and there was no sound, for as yet neither the atmosphere nor the waters were formed. The third command was, let the outside gases be separated and let them form the atmosphere and the waters. And the gases were separated, one part went to form the waters, and the waters settled upon the earth and covered its face so that no land appeared anywhere. The gases that did not form the waters formed the atmosphere, and the light was contained in the atmosphere, and the shafts of the sun met the shafts of light in the atmosphere and gave birth to light. Then there was light upon the face of the earth. In figure 4, the heat was also contained in the atmosphere, and so forth. In the fifth command, sixth command, let life come forth upon the land, and the shafts of the sun met the shafts of the earth in the dust of the land, and out of it formed cosmic eggs, and from these cosmic eggs, did we go too far? Go back. Okay. And from these cosmic eggs, life came forth upon the earth and was commanded. This is supposed to be Narayana, the seven-headed serpent, the symbol of the Creator and creation. Nava means the divine one. Yana, creator of all things. Naakal, seven superlative intellects. Vedanta, seven mental planes. Okay. And he talks more about that Narayana, seven-headed intellect, the creator of all things, throughout the universe, created man, and placed within his body a living imperishable spirit, and man became like Narayana in intellectual power. Then was creation complete, and so forth. And all those commands became 7 periods of time, and so forth, it says here. Let's go back a bit and have a look at that again. A period of time is not measured by any particular number of years. It may mean a day, a year, or millions of years. Thus, these tablets do not assign any particular length of time to creation. It may have taken millions or tens of millions of years to accomplish what was recorded in the tablets. It is merely stated that the earth was created in 7 periods of time, not in 7 days, as recorded in the biblical legend. Yeah, well, that's got a difference here. It's sort of like the original ancient Tab Esrit, Lishana Articus, the Prayers Brita, or Genesis in English, where it says Iuma, an immeasurable period of time, unfathomable period of time, where everything was created. But it denies the modern biblical version, where it says everything was done in a literal 6 days, and then on the 7th day God had rest. He finished all of his work and all sorts of stuff of creation. The general resemblance of the opening part of the Na'akal record as regards the story of the creation to the account as found in the Bible is remarkable, and it is also remarkable how great are the divergences thereafter. Legends of the creation are prevalent among peoples throughout the world, and in all instances the author has found so much of the material identical that the only conclusion to be drawn is that they are of common origin, and their genesis or the origin was a mu. The 7th commandment was the hardest of all to translate. The actual deciphering was easy, but they found it impossible to find modern words that would convey identically the same meaning as the ancient. For instance, taking them in the foregoing order, the tablets start by saying, originally the universe was only a solar spirit, which did we already do that? Yeah, we're going backwards. Okay. For instance, solar spirit were the nearest words we could find to the author could find to represent what was put into the body of man. The word living may or may not be exactly what was intended in the original. The word imperishable is without doubt absolutely correct, but what does the phrase after our own fashion actually mean? Certainly not in our image. It in some way refers to mentality and mystic powers, and this is substantiated by the words, endow him with powers to rule the earth. The Bible uses a good symbolic example when it refers to the breath of God. At any rate, it is clear that the many special powers received from God and may therefore be looked upon as a part of God. As the leaf is a part of the tree, man came from God and must return whence he came. The archaeological tablets were exceedingly difficult to decipher, there being so many vignettes and tableaux and so very little hieratic writing. Some of the parts were also so worn and obliterated that we could make nothing of them. Words also appeared for which they could find no equivalent in modern languages. At the commencement of their studies, his priestly friend informed him that it would be impossible to decipher ancient tablets and inscriptions without a knowledge of what he called the Nagamaya language, as all of the ancient writings that have to do with Mu are in this language, and all Naakal writings have an esoteric or hidden meaning known only to the Naakals and to those who they taught. To this hidden language he held the key, and after he had taught him its use, it proved a sesame that unlocked for him, the author, many strange doors. For more than 2 years he studied this ancient language with intimate decipherings to test his progress. His old Hindu friend and teacher remarked when he had completed their task, "My son, we have got the general meaning but not the perfect detail. I must candidly admit that without this dear old gentle friend, the tablets," this is the author talking, "could never have been deciphered by him. He was totally incompetent." The author was totally incompetent. He found the reflection of the teachings of these tablets or other similar ones in the old Hindu literature, also in old literature other than Hindu. As an example, Hindu, the Manava Dharma Sastra, Book 2, Sloka 74, in the beginning only existed the infinite called Adite. Book 1, Sloka 8, this germ became an egg. Book 1, Sloka 10, the visible universe in the beginning was only darkness. Book 1, Sloka 9, he first produced the waters and then in them deposited an egg. Rig Veda, Sec 312 V4, paragraph 316 to 317, 2000 to 250 BC, and so forth. What's this? Yucatan, Naakal. The particles of the atmosphere on being hit by the divine arrows because animated, etc., etc. The Hindu, Chaldean, Egyptian, Maya, and the Greek in later times describing the creation eliminated the scientific sections and recorded by the use of symbols and facts without the whys and the wherefores. The reason for this is well told by Clement of Alexandria, who said, "The Egyptians neither entrusted their mysteries so everyone nor degraded their secrets of divine matters." The Egyptians neither entrusted their mysteries to everyone nor degraded their secrets of divine matters by disclosing them to the profane, reserving them for heir apparent to the throne. So they were heads, chiefs, those born to be the rulers, the firstborn of every parent, of every father, and to such are the priests who excelled in virtue and wisdom. In other words, the esoteric meanings were not given out publicly to the common folk, right? The peasants.